All right, it looks like we have a consensus, so let's get started here. So today we're going to talk about how to create a landing page for Facebook, and we're going to do that through listening to leads. And all of you have access to the program. It's paid for by us. It's the program on its own is very expensive individually, but the power of our company, we're able to purchase that for you in bulk. And you go to your online office, and you're going to see the link that is listening to leads towards the bottom of the dashboard, and that's how you get into the program. So I've already logged into the program myself, so I'm going to the dashboard right now. And if ever you would like to go to the old, because they've redesigned listening to leads. If you want to shoot to the old system, you just click this link right here, and that'll get you over to the old system. The new system is kind of nice because it walks you through some of the different pages here and kind of explains it, kind of gives you a little bit of a tour. Whenever you log in there, I think you can turn that tour off, but I like to keep it on. So make sure that you check it out. It's a lot easier to navigate. It's a lot less busy. And there are some things that are quite different about it, so it is a little bit, we'll say, challenging to get used to initially, but nevertheless, it is better the way it's built. So we're going to dive right into it. So when you log into the system, what you want to do to get to the Facebook landing pages is you go to landing pages, and our focus today is going to be like on seller landing pages, what you would do for that. And so if you find that you can't click on something, it's usually because you have one of those tutorials open, you just need to close it out. So I'm going to go to landing pages. And as you can see, I have a whole bunch of landing pages here that are already done because of the training that I do. But we're going to start from scratch as if you were the one that was driving the program. And what you're going to want to do is choose a type of landing page. You have a ton of stuff to choose from. The one that is my favorite is the Property Valuation Plus, and this one is best for Facebook. And in particular, it's best for Facebook when you're trying to capture potential seller leads. So I'm going to click that. And now that I have selected that in this menu, I can click Add Landing Page. I'm going to do that. And now it wants to know what is the location, and then a note as far as this note is an internal note for you. Now the location is, I want to say it's critical, but it's not critical. It's critical because your advertising is going to show whatever words you use there. It's not critical because anybody that lands on this page, they're going to be able to find out what their property is worth regardless of whether they live in Kansas City, Missouri, or Ohio, or Michigan, or Florida, or the Virgin Islands. It doesn't matter. The system uses data that is kind of like worldwide data. It uses data that's all over, and it's usually pretty accurate. So you do want to put some thought into the location, but in the end, it'll capture leads no matter where the person is from. So let's just take, let's Torch Lake. Let's just say Torch Lake is where I want to focus my efforts. That's a real nice lake in Michigan, for those of you that know northern Michigan. So we're going to just put a note here, and I'm just going to type the same thing. And the note, again, is kind of, it gets hidden from the eyes of the consumer, whereas location is revealed to the consumer. And if you want to, you can assign an IVR to it. You don't have to, but I'm going to do that anyway. We're going to hit save. And just like that, you've created the page. Now, what you want to do, though, is in this page, you want to make sure that it's exactly the way that you want it. So what I recommend you do is dive into it. Go into the page. We're going to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it so that it's going to be something that's going to be compelling to the consumer to click. Okay, so it defaults into, this kind of computer type background. It looks very professional, but still it doesn't really, in my opinion, it doesn't match the Torch Lake what the Torch Lake buyer is going to look for, or seller, I should say. So we want to kind of make it right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to upload an image that is congruent with Torch Lake. So as far as where you get your images, I mean, that's totally up to you, but most of you will have, I'm gonna deviate for a second here out of this. In the dashboard, you have inside of this dashboard, you have Resource Center and Storage, and then inside of Storage, you've got Coldwell Banker Schmidt storage. You've got three types of storage: Office, My, which is private to you, and then Coldwell Banker Schmidt. So you want to go into that. You want to go into the main storage, then go to aerial photography. And a lot of you are going to have aerials that you can use that would be appropriate for an ad in your area. So I would recommend that you do that you get some kind of a landmark that represents the area that you're going to advertise in. So I've already downloaded a couple of images for what we're doing here. That is Torch Lake. Okay, so here we're back at this new landing page that I created that is called Torch Lake. You see how it used the two words that I called it, Torch Lake, inside of there? So whatever you choose for the name of it, it's going to take those words. If I would have chose like Birch Lake, it would say, what is your Birch Lake home worth now? That's what it's going to do. So whatever words you choose, it's going to insert that into this phrase here. So let's go back to the image. We're going to change it out. We're going to upload image. We're going to go to the desktop. I'm going to choose a Torch Lake image. And it's in the process of uploading. File successfully uploaded. So that should propagate there in a minute. And so, again, just to be clear, the reason that we want an image that is matching our advertising is when the consumer clicks the page, you want them to be believing that this is not just a shotgun advertising or an institutional ad that's trying to capture people for whatever reason. This is going to be representative of the area where you're advertising. So in my opinion, it's really critical to have that there. So that image is there. Let's see how that works out here. Scrolling down a little bit further. Now we are on page 1, by the way. We are looking at everything that's going to be on page 1 of this ad. So I scroll down a little bit further. The Facebook share image is kind of a standard image. I can set my colors now too. Notice that the button is green over here. The the background is kind of a gray. And the text for the background is gray that's inside the box. And then now we go to the lead form. And here's what your form says. It says, what is your Torch Lake home worth to now? Okay, so now we can change that if we want to. And then the subsequent sales pitch is recent home sales have affected your home's value. You can keep that the way it is, but what I like to do is say this: find out in 15 seconds. Exclamation point. And that should change in just a second, hopefully. Let's hit save. Let's see if we have anything that gets changed here. Okay, great. Great. So you see now the background changed. We can see that the phraseology changed. This is a compelling ad. If someone were to click this that lives in the Torch Lake area, they would say, yeah, that looks legitimate. It's pretty compelling. Find out in 15 seconds. Great. So now let me talk about a few other things here. We have the form fields that are next. Now, you can use Facebook registration or you can not use Facebook registration. All that means is that they have the ability to click a button that will allow them to use their Facebook credentials, which, by the way, then you're going to be given some of the data that Facebook allows you to have about the person that clicks this ad. So a lot of times that's going to be their email address, their name. It won't give you much more than that, but it's still something to think about. I do like using the Facebook registration. Now, um, this is the address, and it asks for the unit number if it is there. So that's for this box right here. Now we've done everything that's on page 1. So now we're going to go to page 2, which is another critical step in my opinion. So before we do that, let's just hit save. I don't think we made any major changes, but we're just going to hit save to be safe. And then we're going to pop over to page 2. All right, now the reason that I like to look at page 2 is because it gives you the form fields that will happen after they fill out the Facebook registration. Notice there's a checkbox there that says show pricing form before page 2 form. I don't like that. I don't like checking that because it's going to show the price to the person before they give you a little bit more information. What I like to do is when they fill out their address and they hit the Facebook registration, then allow them to give you their phone number. I like to require phone number. Now, some agents don't want to do that. All they want is their email address, and that's fine. In my opinion, I think you want to try and get their phone number, and then also I require the reason that they are thinking about wanting a price. And so this is good too because it allows you to see how serious they are. One of the options in this is they could just say, I'm just curious about my price. That's fine. That's what 90%, I'd say 95% of the buyers or sellers that are out there are just going to be curious about what their home is worth. And that's okay. So there is a selection there too where they're actually thinking about selling. So sometimes they'll click that, and that gives you a real good indication that these are serious folks when it comes to selling. So I'm going to hit save. There you go. Now that's really the landing page. That's pretty much it. Now what you do is you want to copy the link, and before we use it in Facebook, we're going to test it out. So I'm going over and I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to paste the link in here, and what you're doing here is you're just pretending that you were on Facebook and you saw the ad, and now you're going to click the ad, and this is what you're going to get. So you're going to get this, this ad here. Let me just go change the shape here a little bit. So now we're going to type in an address. I'm going to use a new listing that I got here, 3343. Okay, so there's a home on 3343 Michael Drive that was just listed. It's in Williamsburg. And you'll notice that the data we've got data from all over the universe here. So that's why I say, remember when I told you that the word Torch Lake, when we named the ad, it mattered in some sense, but it didn't matter. That's why I say it didn't matter, because whether you have a property that's in Glenview, Illinois, or Southwest Wyoming, Michigan, the data is here. So in a way, the words don't matter because you're going to get, you have a wide swath of data that the system's going to find, and it's going to help you to price a home. But it also does matter because you want this to be relative to where your ad is being advertised, right? So I'm going to do an ad that's in Torch Lake. I want to say Torch Lake, so it kind of does matter. Anyway, so we're going to click this listing right here. We're going to hit Get Value, Estimate. Okay, so right away, it automatically figured that I was already in Facebook. Now it already stole my Facebook. I don't want to say stole, but I want to say hijacked. I don't want to say hijacked, but I want to say ninja. It already took my Facebook data, and it's got that recorded, right? And it's giving it to you. And then now it says, let's get a phone number here too. So let's just throw in a phone number. And also it's going to require, why are you asking about your price? So I'm just going to hit just curious, hit view report. See, it's not going to tell me not going to tell me what my home is worth. until I enter in the phone number. And so now here it is within 15 seconds. Look at that. We've got the 2 bedrooms, 3 baths home. That's accurate, 1552 square feet. And the estimate is a little bit low because the seller finished off their lower level, and it's got a view to die for of the bay. And so you can tell it's located close to East Bay, so it's really got a nice view. And that's hard for this estimate to factor that stuff in. So anyway, but the fact is, even though the seller now sees that his property is probably underpriced according to this, you've already given him he's already got, you've already have his phone number and his email address, and you've got some data that now you can contact them and give them a more accurate assessment of what this property is worth. Okay, and then it also gives you comps, comps that are right here, market trends, and then you can also add Zillow reviews to this too, so it looks very, very good. So anyway, that's now that you've tested it, you've built your landing page, you've tested it, now you know it works. Now you're ready to go to Facebook and start doing some really cool advertising. So we're going to pop on over to Facebook over here. We're going to drop down menu on the right. You've got in Facebook a down arrow, and provided that you've created what's called a business page, all of you know what that is, then you can create an ad. So we're going to go create ad. We're going to click that. Make sure that you have a credit card ready because you're going to need it. And now it loads the ad. Usually it's faster than this. And we're going to do a traffic ad, so we're just going to click traffic. And now you're going to want to name the ad. I'm going to call this Torch Lake ad. Continue. You're simply naming the ad. Doesn't really matter what you name it. Okay. As it stands, you're going to be exposing this to 230 million people, and you're going to want to tighten up that audience there because that's too big of an audience, and it's not really honing in on your Torch Lake area. So what I do is start adding some areas. So we're going to add Torch Lake. Well, if I would type in the right box here, we're going to add Torch Lake. Torch Lake, Michigan. Okay. And then what it does is it kind of circles a radius of that. So let's scroll down a little bit. So there's your radius. That's a pretty big swath. And if you want to, you can say, you know what, I just want to make it, a little bit smaller here. So you can kind of hone that down a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. And then, you're getting not only Torch Lake, you're getting a couple other lakes there too. And you can make it a little bit smaller. So you can do 10 miles if you want to, but just bring it to where you want it to be around Torch Lake. And then if you want to, you can add, let's just say Elk Lake, Michigan. I don't know if that even exists. It doesn't exist, so you don't want to type in something that doesn't exist. But anyway, you'll figure out where you want to go with that. I mean, let's see, what could I add that would be similar or close to that? I could add Elk Rapids, for example. Elk Rapids, Michigan. And then it's going to circle that area, and it's going to use the 25-mile radius, and I can just pop that down to, let's say, 10 miles, right? 10-mile radius. Made it smaller. Okay. Now, you also can do the age group. Now look we went from 230 million to now your audience is 150,000. You see how that works? Kind of drills it down a little bit. We can you can change the age. I don't really think age matters because I'll show you why in just a second. But let's just keep it at 18. Scrolling a little bit down here, we get demographics. This is where it gets fun. So demographics, you can type in, say, home ownership. Okay, so let's just click homeowners. So that's why what I think is nice about this is you don't need to worry about the age. If a person is 18 years old and they own a home, I'm okay with that. They may be a potential seller. So we went from 230 million to 150,000 to 82,000 people in the area, the circles that we've chosen, and they're all homeowners. Facebook, believe it or not, has everything that you need. Now, I think there's also a category here, like likely to sell, and I may not find it, but it's here. You can likely to move. There you go. So now you have a behavior likely to move. So don't ask me how Facebook knows this, but they do, and you can add that as a as a thing too, to add that to your advertising. And you can browse other things if you want to. But let's just scroll down here. We're gonna keep going. We want to keep this moving. We're getting up on a half hour here pretty quick. Then you have a budget. I recommend just $5 a day. Don't kill yourself here on these ads. Just do $5 a day. There's nothing better spent than Facebook ads, in my opinion. I mean, think about newspaper ads. You know how much money, hundreds of dollars, you can spend for a weekend ad in the newspaper that we used to do. You have no idea who you're targeting. You have no idea who's going to read your ad, and it's just burning money. So the most you're going to spend is $140 a week, right? Or $140, 5 times 3 is 150 per month. I don't know why it's saying that, but okay. So then we're going to go to scroll down here a little bit further. We're going to hit continue. And then we are going to add our link. Here's the URL. We're going to hit paste. Paste the URL. Remember, we had the URL copied in our clipboard, and so that ad is now there. So now I'm going to type in here, how much is your Torch Lake property worth? Question mark. There you go. So how much is your Torch Lake property worth? I don't want to say necessarily home. Maybe they just have property, but we'll just put that there. And then the headline is, what is your Torch Lake? So we're going to change that. Okay. So we got that in 2 places. And then you do need to add an image. So we're going to do a single image ad, and then you can use a free stock image from Facebook, or you can browse and get an image. So let's use our Torch Lake image just for grins, although it may already be there. Okay. So it looks like there was maybe already an image there. Now we're going to go to the bottom and we are going to confirm. And I don't know if I want to confirm this because I don't really want to do this ad. I'm just trying to do some training here, so I'm not going to confirm that. But anyway, I think you get the idea. We're at the 27-minute mark, so I want to kind of hold off here. I want to see if you guys have any questions, and let's do that now. So anybody have any questions? What is the difference between Boost and running an ad? Boost it's similar. I think it's very, very similar. Boost is, probably that's a JD question. And I really don't know the answer to that. I think boosting in some cases is probably less costly. Maybe there's someone else that can answer that question besides me that's on. Let me go to the next question. To the leads, go to Zap. No, they go to listening to leads, but I think you can fix that and have it go right directly to Zap. JD Waldvogel, he says, I got this. Boosting, this is from JD, this is the authority. This is the Facebook authority that we have. He's the king of Facebook. Boosting is running an ad just like through Ads Manager, but the goal of the ad is to reach. And the reach is capitalized in big quotation marks. So I'm going to send his answer to everybody. I'm going to copy and paste that to everybody here. So we're going to send to all. That's the answer that JD gave. That's a great answer. Thanks for being on there. All right, Chris, how different is the buyer type of L2L process? You're talking about buyer type. I assume you're thinking of buyer type ads. I don't think it's much different, but I haven't really done a whole lot of work with the buyer landing pages, if that's your question. Okay, JD, can you give me audio control? I'm going to give him audio control. Hang on. Let me give JD the power to speak. Fire away. Oh, no, that's wrong one. I gave it to his wife instead. Go ahead, JD.
I mean, she can try to answer it if she wants to, but I don't want to. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to explain the boosting versus ads manager thing. Basically, when you do a boosted post, what that's doing is that, you know, when you went in and did create ad and it like let you pick, I think it was like clicks that you did
Yes.
for like the objective.
Yes.
A boosted ad is defaulting that objective to reach, which means getting it in front of as many people as possible. So it's not necessarily optimized for clicks, it's optimized for reach, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. It's kind of the quicker way of doing it. The cost is the same, your audience choices are the same, you're just not going through Ads Manager to make it. So it's like you could it's the same as Ads Manager, it's just quicker, and you have slightly less choices. If you were doing like a video campaign, you might want to do it through Ads Manager because you could pick like video views as your goal. But short of like that one part, it's the same thing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That makes sense. Yes. Sorry, I'm done.
No. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Buyer landing pages. Yes. You know, we're going to have to do, Chris, thanks for the question. Appreciate it. We are going to have to do a landing page for buyers here with L2L at some time in the future, because that is a great question, and I'm just not sure exactly how that works yet, but we'll find out. Any other questions before we close this out? Sweet. Thanks a lot, you guys. We're going to have this recorded, and it'll be uploaded by, I'm going to say by tomorrow. It'll probably be later this afternoon. Sometimes it just takes a little bit to edit some of the stuff that we're doing. But yeah, definitely we'll be there if you need to refer back to it. And again, thank you all for being here. Really appreciate the participation. And we had a great turnout today. So we'll catch you on the next Technology Monday.